Alrighty then, right, we're back. Another episode of Drive Time with Elle, episode number 2. I got Nathan next to me. And I think what we're going to discuss today is a subject that was mentioned to me the other day. Now, obviously, I'm heavily involved in sport. You obviously in the past have been involved in sport quite a bit. And someone asked me the other day, do you reckon esports should be in the Olympics? Because they saw a petition about Tokyo 2020 bringing in the first esports into the Olympic Games. So I'll get your point of view first, then I'll present mine.
In terms of esports, it depends on what games are actually going to be brought in, because of how many different leagues and how many different organisations have now brought games in and have brought about the competitive scene.
Yeah,
it's going to make it difficult, because you're going to have to get these bodies and these organisations involved to actually get arenas set up, to get stations set up. It's going to be a lot more work going into esports than I think what
do you think
people realise.
Like what people realise.
I think the people that are saying, petitioning it because they just watch it, or they think it's going to be good to involve something like that, I don't think they realise how much work and how much setup actually has to go into these things.
I feel like you're right with that, because esports, even though as a whole it's a lot cheaper to set up and easier to set up than, well, maybe not easier, but it's a lot cheaper because it doesn't require as much to pay as many staff or anything like that in big arenas. You can have everyone playing in the same location, so therefore you only have to purchase a certain amount of equipment. I agree with you on that. I feel like it'd be very cheap to run, but I feel like a lot more has to be done for it to become an actual thing. Do you think it should be in the Olympic Games though? What do you think? Me personally, no, I don't think it should. I think there's a place for esports and then there's a place for sport.
It's hard to say, because a lot of people can turn around and say that certain sports shouldn't be in the Olympics anyway.
Okay.
I mean, it goes back to the argument of what is a sport, because darts and snooker are classed as sports, but they're not exactly physically demanding. Right, yeah. When you think of a sport, you think of something that is physically demanding, something that you've really got to put a lot of effort into. It'll drain you physically more than it will mentally.
And so that's how you would define sport in a... You see, but for me, I imagine physically might not be that demanding. That's why we see a lot of e-sport players that are not in great shape, but it's just started raining, so I don't know if that's going to affect the audio at all. Shouldn't do. But I feel like esports, if you're playing esports a lot every day, I feel mentally that would be quite taxing.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're playing the same thing for 8+ hours a day in the same sort of way, same sort of scenarios, you're only pushing in your competitive side of it, then it's going to be draining. If you're not playing a game to enjoy it, I mean, it kind of starts taking the point of playing out of it. I mean, that is what they were made for to begin with. It's for you to enjoy, it's for you to be able to relax. I mean, I know people will say that, they all enjoy doing the sports that they're going to be doing within the Olympics.
Yeah.
But I think...
Well, too much of everything, I believe, is you're doing too much of something, you tend to get bored of it very quickly.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Even if you love it.
There's only so long you can sit at a desk with a screen in front of you before you think, right, I've had enough now, I don't want to do it, I need to go and do something else. Even with it being...
Got that loud.
Even with it being playing a video game, like the one that we follow most between ourselves at the moment is Overwatch.
Yeah.
The Overwatch League. We've seen it with people that play constantly and consistently, day in, day out, in the same aspect all the time, it's like, fair enough, it's going to get him to the top of the game. But when you are just sat still doing something like that, it got to get to a point where you just think, I'm not doing enough, or it's just really, really draining me of anything else. And it's taking the enjoyment out of what I'm actually doing.
I guess so. And so you think that the enjoyment of video games as a recreation should probably be separate from something as serious as, I mean, esports, a lot of people have made a lot of money from esports, but do you believe that it should be totally separate and that's why it shouldn't be in the Olympics? Or
I mean, it's hard to say, because with sport in general, I know a lot of training, a lot of practicing is going to be very mundane, and you are going to be, again, hours on end doing the same thing over and over. But I think something like this is going to be looked at a little bit differently because of what it is.
Yeah.
I think, like I said before, it's not physically demanding, so people aren't going to recognise it as a sport.
As a sport, quote unquote, yeah.
I mean, it's like there's so many different things that can be said or can be done to prove it wrong.
Yeah.
But again, it's going to be really hard to turn around and like give a legitimate argument to put it in the Olympics.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. I think it'll get there eventually.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is when you think of, especially in terms of athletics, the Olympics is the biggest thing you can win. In terms of athletics, it is. I mean, well, you can argue that with the Diamond League, because everybody wants to try and get the Diamond League as well.
Yeah.
But when you think of
well,
biggest
any
events,
sport, yeah,
it's the Olympics. Now, if you're then going to take these games and esports and put them into the Olympic scenario, it's not going to be the biggest thing to play for.
Yeah.
Because, like we've seen with Overwatch, they have the Overwatch League, they have the Overwatch World Cup.
Yeah.
So they've already got...
Kind of like football, I feel. Like it's similar to football, because let's face it, when it comes to football, people don't go Olympic Games.
No.
Because...
They go World Cup.
They go World Cup, they go
Champions League. They're the big things, they're the ones you want to win. It's fine turning around and saying, yeah, you always want to represent your country.
Yeah.
But when you're going to go and win the biggest accolades, the biggest achievements, with athletics, you want to go and win the Olympic Games. You want to go and win the gold medal at the 100-metre final.
Yeah.
When you think of esports, Call of Duty, Halo, Dota, anything like that, you want to go and win the World Championship.
Yeah.
You do. It's as simple as that. Okay. And comparing the World Championship of these games to the Olympic Games just isn't going to be there. Because it's going to be in a different setting.
Yeah.
And it's probably, for the most part, for what countries are actually in there, or what countries participate in esports, you're not really going to be facing much of a different challenge from what you normally would in your other leagues.
Yeah.
Because you're all going to be playing similar people, because there's only going to be so many countries that are going to enter.
Yeah, that was the other thing that I feel was a key point, is that because esports is so new and it is it's not a hugely expensive thing to do, but especially with technology driven countries, I mean, that's why I guess we see Korea as they're a big esports country, because they're, well, I don't know for how long now, but they've been heavily involved in gaming and professional gaming for a while now, so they tend to be more the countries that succeed in these things. But yeah, I feel like you'd have a huge shortage of countries, whereas if you do sport in general with the Olympics, and you get any other sport, I mean, again, we see it in sports nowadays. I mean, there's very few like Nigerian gymnasts or something like that. You know, there's some countries that obviously don't do sport, and certain sports as much and as often as other countries. But I feel like esports would face the problem very early on of having a very, very concentrated set of countries that participate in it.
Yeah. And then the problem that you're also going to have is how does it set up and how do you look at it in the long term? Because with athletics, with football, you have foundations, you have different places to go to practice, you have facilities available to you to actually go and develop. It's going to be a bit more difficult when realistically your development is going to be solely based on what you can do at home. So especially if you are, as a kid, or turning into high school at 12 and 11, you're only going to have so long to actually get on and practice. I mean, that's one of the main things when you see, the one that I can remember is with Call of Duty. I can remember...
Contacts come out.
Oh, smashing. You can actually see through the other eye, right?
Yeah.
Smashing, we're not going to crash.
I'm not actually that blind.
Yeah, but the one that I can remember and it was Call of Duty and it's Scum. I can remember he played professionally during high school.
Okay.
Obviously, their high school goes up to 18. It's a bit different for us. Obviously, ours is going to finish at 16, and then you have the choice to go on to sixth form. But I think there's got to be a certain point where you turn around and say, look, it's fine playing games, but if it's then going to hinder your education, especially at that sort of level, when it's going to literally, it can define your life, it's kind of hard to turn around and be like, alright, yeah, play video games, I've got all the go and doing this. I mean, it's wrong for academies now, where I know that some lads will take days out of school so they can go and train at academies.
Well, I did that as a gymnast. I took days out of school, and I don't think that's as much of an issue, because you can learn, you can do homeschool, you can learn. I mean, I know sports academies and stuff will support their education, because of, obviously they will be missing out on school, but they'll still get the support for the education they need. I don't feel like they'd just let them throw away their education, then that's it. But I get what you're trying to say, because it is a concern, is how much time do you put into a sport that, well, isn't really a sport, but it is. Yeah,
I mean, again, it's going to come down to opinions of a lot of people that are, if they're going to be providing it for teenagers, it's going to be parents and things like that are going to be paying for it. And they're going to be thinking, like, yeah, you've got to do well in school, no doubt about it, you've got to put as much effort into school as you can. But then they're going to turn around and see it, there's got to be a balance between what I've spent helping you progress and strive for something that you want to do, to it then affecting your other options. I mean, I think the word that I've just used, there's a balance that needs to be found for it.
Okay.
It's definitely something, because
obviously people become very successful off it.
I mean, I know some people, the people that you can name in terms of being successful while playing video games, they're not in school anymore. They've started a little bit later on, they've started late teens, 20s, and then their careers have progressed and just continuously gone up. It's hard for you to be able to have a very strict schedule in terms of video games
when you're young, and I get that.
Especially if, like myself, while I was in school, I was involved with a lot of teams. Near enough any sport that the school participated in, I was involved with. So there were times where I had 2-3 hours after school where I was going and playing football, or I was at an athletics tournament, something like that. And it is kind of hard to find a balance of schoolwork, school teams, your own teams outside of school, and then recreation, as we called it before, in terms of games.
Yeah.
I know sometimes you grow out of things,
Yeah.
but
I think you nailed it. It's finding the balance between everything, and then from that, then making a decision whether you want to pursue something further.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it with that.
and I think with going back to putting it in the Olympics, I think it's going to be very hard to put it, because you're going to have to put, I think, more than one type of game in. You're going to have to put more than one game in.
Yeah.
And then the problem you're also going to have is you're going to have a lot more organisations, the ones that do any of the professional stuff or the competitive scene in terms of Call of Duty, Halo. You've even got FIFA that's in there now. It's going to be really hard to keep all of them happy.
Yeah.
Especially if you're turning around and saying, look, we only want to put Call of Duty and Halo in. You're going to really upset the people that play Counter-Strike and things like that.
That'd be a problem, wouldn't it? Is which games do you put in, and then how do you please the
how do you please the bodies that look after them? How do you please the people that organise the teams and things like that?
So I definitely think it's fair to say that 2020 would be a bit too early.
I mean, by all means, use it as, I suppose, as an experiment. Is it the right time? Is it
I don't
the
think
right
you
thing
can do
to?
that in the Olympics. I think you'd have to be refined.
I think you.
I think we'll see it when Korea get the next Olympics.
Well, I mean, going off Tokyo, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they do it anyway, especially with all the ambassadors they're putting in.
Yeah.
They're not exactly using people, are they?
Yeah, that's not.
Using anime characters.
Yeah.
Says it all.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we might see it then in the future. Alright, well, I think we'll wrap that up there. That's good 20 minutes of content. Okay, guys, let me know what you think about the subject. Do you think esports should be in the Olympic Games? If so, or if not, leave me a comment. Make sure you like the video and subscribe, and we'll get your opinions on it. I think it's a fascinating subject, and we'll see what the future holds. Alright, guys.